Welcome back. Well, the long-awaited review into Victoria's emergency call service, the 000 dispatch system, was finally released over the weekend, laying bare a litany of government failures that led to the preventable deaths of 33 Victorians. Now, the review was released on a Saturday morning, buried in the AFL footy season, with the Premier hiding until today. 3 days into hiding, he finally fronted up. Simon Love, you were the journalist there on the ground with him. Before we get into the substance of the report, what did he have to say about his handling of the matter?
Well, good evening, Peter. Well, he had to say that all of this went to Cabinet on Friday afternoon, which is quite interesting that it took the entire week through a parliamentary sitting week for the government to come up with a full response into this Inspector General for Emergency Management's report. So even after a state memorial service for an MP, the Cabinet met, they then signed off on this response, and he insists that it wasn't ready to go until Friday evening, which is why it was released on a Saturday. And that's obviously caused a lot of drama, a lot of criticism about the timing of this release. But today, 3 days later, he's finally come out and offered some form of apology to the 33 families affected.
I've been very clear today, as I have been in other contexts and on other occasions. I offer my personal apology and my deepest sympathies to all of those families, and indeed all families who have lost somebody because of this global pandemic.
So Emergency Services Minister Jacqueline Symes actually delivered this report alongside the Inspector General for Emergency Management, alongside the interim, but now we see permanent Chief of Esther, Stephen Lean, the former police officer. But then the Deputy Premier was out for 2 days, no sign of Daniel Andrews.
OK, fair enough. If he is right that he had the Cabinet meeting on the Friday and he couldn't get it out late Friday night, why wasn't he there on the Saturday? Or indeed, why wasn't he there on the Sunday? Or why not push the whole thing out to Monday, if he had to, away from the footy finals and front himself?
Well, he argues that the government is a 7-day-a-week business, and he argues also that the footy finals had the highest ratings, and potentially the TV news on that night might have had their highest ratings
of the year.
Excuses. Well, that's his play, and he also said that he didn't come out Sunday as well because he had a sick child. So here's a little bit of Daniel Andrews' argument as to why he wasn't out over the weekend.
We're not getting into these issues of trying to draw an equivalence between my diary and the pain that these families endure today. I'm not going to play that game. In terms of what I was doing, I was at home on Saturday. So if you think I was off doing something exotic, I wasn't. I was at home on Saturday and I was at home on Sunday. I don't appear every single Sunday.
Right. All the excuses, I don't think they wash. People will make their own judgment. Talk to me about the report itself. I mean, it's from the Inspector General. It is scathing about the responsibility of the government and in particular funding to these deaths.
There's one key line that I want to point out to you here in the report. It says the Victorian government was aware of Esther's precarious financial position as early as 2015. So that's 1 year into the first iteration of the Andrews government. And now we see this report, particularly into the issues experienced during the pandemic and the issue too of funding, whether Esther needs to bid for its funding each year or whether that funding should be baked in. Now, I would say out of all of this, potentially that may be an outcome that perhaps Labor, maybe the coalition might commit to. Here's what Daniel Andrews had to say, though, defending how the government's funded the agency.
The system was overwhelmed. That is a fact. It would still have been overwhelmed, Mark. It would still have been overwhelmed. You can't necessarily, in a week or a month or even a year, deliver what is a multi-year reform plan, because you should always do whatever you can. We are. That's what we're doing. As far as recruitment goes, there's already been hundreds of additional people recruited. We've invested a lot of money over a long period of time, and Esther's always received the funding that it needed. We're having a debate about a model, and we're having a debate about a unique 1 in 100 year event, and they are not the same thing. They're just not.
Good to see him under some pressure, because we're not having a debate about funding, we're not having a debate about a model, we're having a debate about Victorians not having confidence that an ambulance is going to call turn up if you call 000, and we're having a debate about 33 dead.
We were back to the hour-long press conferences there. It was an interesting dynamic, but it was all solemn. It was all respectful though, and he didn't though use one thing the opposition pointed out. He didn't use the exact words "sorry" though, Peter.
And I could see it from Daniel Andrews. All right, Simon Live, you've got a busy time between now and November. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.